the hot air balloon. I will leave the link in the description box for you guys to watch how I made that. And before we get started, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It definitely helps and goes a long way. And if you have a question, don't forget to just leave a comment down below. So we are getting started. As you guys see, I do have some knot lamps with me. I will insert a picture right here. These are the ones I used. They were from Walmart. I actually already had them, so I just brought them on site with me because I didn't know the exact shape that I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want it to do the basically the line of clusters going over the marquee numbers going down. I personally don't like that look too much, so I knew I wanted to do some kind of setup behind the marquee numbers and then coming off to the side. And then I have two different heights for the lamp. So one of them was really tall, one was really short, because I just knew I wanted. So I had like a partial shape in my mind of what I wanted to do, but not the full shape. Nor did I have the roadmap of how I was going to get that shape. So the rest I was just winging it. I knew I kind of had like I wanted some kind of height in it, and then some short parts. So that's what we're doing. We're winging it. Right now, I'm just adding on my clusters. I was rotating between clusters of 8 and clusters of 6 balloons. That was my first mistake because I did not implement my rule, which is wasn't a full outdoor. We was at like a golf course thing, but this is where we were under a tent, so it's kind of outdoors but under a tent. Typically, if I'm working outdoors, I try to use only clusters of 8 balloons in my body, 8 or more balloons in the body part, just in case I lose balloons. Now, I think I only had like one balloon that popped, and it was like a 16-inch. But I try to use like thicker clusters. And then also another rule is when I'm working on marquee numbers, I try to use clusters of 8 balloons in the body just so it can fill up space faster. Or I will be going back, like you will see later on when I was adding in a quad or maybe a cluster of 6, I was going back to add a dupe just to thicken it out a little bit more. So when I'm working with, so I have different, I guess, building methods. It all depends on the prop or the backdrop that I'm working on, that I switch up how I'm building for that particular thing. And I'm sure you guys probably do the same. Every setup is not going to be exactly how you build. You got to adjust to certain things. So when I stopped to inflate more, when I ran out of what I already inflated at home, I went and I made sure that I added like extra, not extra, but more 16-inch balloons, because I only had 16-inch in the blue slate and the nude color. So I made sure when I was making my clusters for those again, that I was adding more larger balloons so I can start filling up the space a little bit faster, because if all you're using are 11-inch balloon, then you will be it will be a lot of clusters, and it will take a lot more time to fill up. All the colors will be listed in the description box. They are all custom colors. They all double stuff. So check out the description box for those exact colors and the brands that I use and all the sizes that I use. I do not know. I know I get this question on how many balloons I use. I don't know. Over 200, I would say. And that's not including the 5 inches that I use. So here I am still going in, adding on my clusters. One thing for sure though, I do like to still end off my garland or the bottom part. You guys know I love the bottom part for my quads, and you'll see when I add those. But I also like to end off my garland a little bit with like cluster of 6 balloons, because the cluster of 6 and a cluster 8 is distinctive, and you can see the difference. A cluster 6 is more structured. It can give you that pointy look, where the cluster 8 or anything 8 and above will be more chunky, and it doesn't have a actual shape to it, just like a ball or something, a ball of balloons. So that's why I would use those particularly for the body of my garland. But when it goes to start to close off my garland to give it a more defined shape, then I will start adding in those clusters clusters of 6 balloons or a quad of 4 balloons to kind of smooth it out. And I hope this makes sense for you guys, because this is how I process things in my head. Because even though I guess I am a creative now, I'm putting it in quotes, you guys, I don't know. I still like very OCD and very structured a little bit. So I don't know. I think that's how I process how I build things, because I find ways on how to build efficiently, but like but still be creative in the same time. I don't know. Maybe we can have a podcast one day. Oh gosh, no podcast. I'm so over podcasts. Maybe we could talk about this on another platform one day, because I feel like it's other people that's, maybe do the same. So yeah, anyway, I'm still building. I'm starting to go over to the left side now. I want to say I did count, and I want to say I maybe used like 40 clusters altogether. I went through and count, and this is a good habit to do, you guys, because even though we charge one thing, I think I charged the client 30 feet because I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, of course, because I freestyle, so I don't know exactly. So I did 10 foot per letter. So I was like, okay, BOY, 10 feet, I'm going to do 30 feet. So I end up using more. I think I end up doing 40 feet altogether, and I'm sure it's because of the design I did. But I did go through afterwards, and this is something I do with all my setups. I go through afterwards and see and count how many clusters I use to know, like, okay, next time I'm going to charge this amount, maybe 40 feet or something like that. But it will always, in my opinion, it will always be off a bit, because if you're going on site, we never know. I never know exactly the design I'm going to do. Maybe people who do mock-ups, they can pretty much, maybe they can guess how many clusters they're going to do. I don't really know that, because I go on site and I freestyle, and whatever I'm feeling, that's what I'm going to do, kind of thing. But I do try to calculate how many clusters I use. That way, next time I get a client that reach out for a similar look, then I know what to charge for that. So as you guys see, that blue, I kind of missed it, but I'm adding in some quads right here just to add some thickness and layers on top, so we can close that up a little bit. But that blue that I had added there, it was a quad, and then I changed it to a cluster of 6 balloons. So I just wanted to point that out. If you guys want to rewind it really quick, sorry, I was talking. But I'm just trying to fill in. And again, like I said, I didn't have a roadmap for what I was planning to do. I was just going in, and then, after I used all the balloons I used when I first came, I just started to inflate what I needed, and adding where I think what needed to be added. So that's what I'm doing here. And right now I'm adding another quad at the bottom, because you guys know I love my quads. And I added another quad up here at the top, at the end, just to close that off a little bit and fix the shaping on that. And then I'm going to start working on this bottom part and just closing that off as well. So I have another marquee set up next week for a prom, and for sure I will be doing a lot of the clusters will be 8 balloons or more, and then I will also have a few clusters of, or there go that one balloon that popped. It was a 16-inch. And I just made another cluster. So I will have some clusters of 6 and 4, but majority of the clusters next week will be clusters of 8 balloons. I will be doing that beforehand. And here I am making my rig points on the ground, so nothing falls, so nothing is lifting up. And I just used one piece of duct tape. I didn't do the 4H method. You guys know that I'm lazy, so I didn't. And now I'm just adding on my 5 inches. And this is pretty much it, you guys. You guys, I was so tired during this setup. I was out this was on a Sunday, and that Friday and Saturday I drove out to the Poconos, or actually past the Poconos for my daughter Girl Scout trip. So I just came back that Saturday night super late. I probably went to bed midnight or something, and I was extremely tired. Even on site, I knew I was tired. I'm taking it one step at a time. It's just me. And I was like, oh my gosh, Khalida, we have to get through this. I was just so grateful and alhamdulillah that I made it to the end of this setup, and it was actually nice. I was so happy, and I already had prep before I even left for the trip. So I already had everything prepped. So when I came home, everything was already done. Sunday, I just had to load up the car and leave, but we made it, alhamdulillah. This is the full setup, you guys. Again, don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any question, I try to respond to all questions. Actually, I do, alhamdulillah. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the box down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.